Hi guys, welcome on this video about how to create a triangle arrow in CSS. I'm your host Zelig, and in today's video we're going to create these little arrows that is going to append it to every LI element on our menu. We're going to do development in CodePen, so if you never used CodePen before, I really suggest you to do so because it's a fantastic development environment for small proof of concept and even for day-to-day. We're now going to use a pseudo element called after. If you never heard of after before, this allows you to add content such as string, images, counter, or sometimes just to fix some CSS bugs such as the clear fix created by using floats. In our case, we're going to create a pseudo element after on our LI. So if we see our HTML, we see that the 1, 2, and 3 are actually is an ordered list, and we're going to add a little element, little content that is going to be our arrow after each of these LI. As I mentioned before, to achieve this we can actually just use the after pseudo element, and we can add a declaration called content. So just to prove the point, we can add a hi. You will see that the hi is actually going to be added on each of the li. If you analyze this in the debugger, you'll see that the li element still exists, the a tag still exists, and then there is a pseudo after in here. And if we click it, we can actually see the CSS declaration within that. In our case, the content of the after element actually needs to be empty. And what we're going to do, we're going to create a little box. So our triangle arrow is going to be nothing else than a little box rotated 45 degrees. So to create a box, we're going to use some border. And our border is going to be solid. It's going to be black. As you can see, our content is actually starting to take effect. Something else that is very important is actually to apply a positioning. So the position have to be absolute because we want to be able to actually define the position on this of this arrow on each of the element. And usually when you actually do these kind of things such as an arrow or an icon or something, the position absolute is always going to be beneficial because in our case it's always going to be end on our list. So no matter how big the list, we want to do it on this side. As you can see, as soon as I done the position of absolute, our content is just became a little dot. To actually start and make it look more like an arrow, we're going to add some padding. So our square now, that is not rotated yet, is starting to take form, and next step is going to be to actually position this square wherever we want. In our case, as I mentioned before, we want it on the right hand side. So we're going to go a right of 5 pixels. That seems about right. And we're going to add a top of 13 pixels, maybe 11. Our next step is actually now to hide 2 of these borders so that we actually start and form a little arrow. To add, to hide 2 of the border, you can actually use the border width properties. Border width. This is very similar to border and everything else, that they go side by side. So we're actually able to define as 0, 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 0, and semicolon. So as you can see, we've hidden the top. Then we've actually applied the 2 pixel and 2 pixel for right and bottom, and we've hidden the left hand side. Our arrow is not fully defined, as you can see, it's going downwards. To actually rotate our arrow, we are using the transform properties using the rotate. The rotation is not going to work because transforms still require a WebKit. To actually work. Oh, I've also done a spelling mistake there. As you can see, our arrow is actually nicely defined. If we would like to increase the size of our arrows, it will be simply, if we want to increase this thickness, we can actually just increase the width here. If you actually want to make it bigger overall, you also want to increase the padding. And if you want to rotate it, you got two options. You can either change the degree in which you get rotated in the transform, or you can actually change the border that you actually hide. For example, in my case, if I remove the 0 there and add it at the bottom, you see that the arrow is actually going to go on the top now. Or if I remove the minus in front of the degree and just do 45, it's going to go at the bottom. So in this video, we have covered the basic details of how to implement a little arrow. I forgot to mention that even if we use the after pseudo class, you don't actually have to do so. In fact, you can actually apply the same CSS to any given element. So you could actually create a little spam element or an I element and just apply the same details that we've actually shown in this video to that given element. I really hope this video has been beneficial, and I hope to see you soon. Bye guys.